on Easy Track, we will start with something that we would like to show you. And this is actually a quick guide on how we build easy platform websites in Netgen. The presentation will be made by me, I'm Igor, and Mario will be joining me on the later part with more hands-on approach with some code actually being shown. So, quick intro. So I'm Igor, I'm a co-founder of Netgen. I've been working for 16 years in building content-centric websites, so quite a long time, and I have been using Easy Publish since 2004. So I started as a developer. Right now I'm all over the place, but mostly doing product management and team leadership, but still trying to tap into all the clever stuff the other people in Netgen do. Mario can introduce himself.
My name is Mario. I'm backend developer at Netgen. Well, I like Symphony framework. I like to do things with PHP, and basically that's my main point of interest. Also, I am a chief fire officer. In my free time, I work as a fire officer, and I also do that job at Netgen. So, for example, if I have a problem with fire, I can get it out. And also, I'm a husband, and I have 2 kids. And that's all from me from now. Thank you.
So that's us, but also this is also us. So we at Netgen, we are 20-something people, company from Croatia. We have been doing websites for quite a long time, and we have been mostly doing 3 things these days. So we are doing our own projects, like designing and developing websites, but also we are consulting partner companies, some of which I see here. And the most important for this presentation, we also have been building tools and products for other people to use. So this will be the main point of the whole workshop. Regarding Netgen and Easy, we have 15 years experience in Easy Publish and Easy Platform development. And during this time, we have developed a lot of code, and a lot of it we also put in the open source. So here is a short list of some of the things that we put on GitHub. And it's really, I think that you will recognize at least some of these. Apart from sharing code, we also are very much involved in the community efforts in Easy. So we have been, for example, this event, Web Summer Camp, actually started as Easy Publish Summer Camp in 2012. And for the last 7 years, we always brought Easy also like one of the core parts of the whole event. Also, we have done a lot of blog posts, webinars. We have been very active on ShareEasy.no forum, which is unfortunately almost dead right now. But you can meet us these days on Easy Community Slack, so we are very active there also. In the meanwhile, we have collected some of these, so we are really proud of our work in Easy. As of this event, we will be introducing something that we gave it the name, we call it Netgen Stack for Easy Platform. It is actually a set of components that we do on our everyday development in Netgen. And the good thing, and what we are really trying to say right now, that all of these components are open sourced. So as of this month, a week ago, we open sourced the last couple of segments of this stack that you can now use for your own projects as you wish. So there will be actually 3 presentations from Netgen on this summer camp. This is the first one is of course the first one on the slide, but also there will be a following presentation on Site API, which will be done by Petar. And then on Friday there will be a full workshop on extending Netgen layouts. So if you are interested in these topics, do join these workshops, because I think a lot of value will be provided there. So Netgen Stack for Easy Platform. So in one sentence, as I said, it's a set of components that we have developed over the years. So I have written down just the major parts here. So starting from the bottom, of course, Easy Platform as a foundation of everything. Then there is a Netgen Admin UI, Site API, Netgen Layouts, Netgen Site Bundle, and Netgen Media Site. These are just the biggest ones, the ones that we will try to showcase in these couple of hours, but there is also a wide range of other components, smaller and bigger solutions that are also bundled in the stack. So we don't have much time, so I will just skip a couple of sentences on each of these before switching to the demoing two of these. So I will be demoing later on Netgen layouts and Netgen media site. These are the most important ones in our thinking. So easy platform, as I said, it's still the preferred weapon of choice for complex and extensible CMS projects in Netgen. We have been doing these sites since 2004, and why we still stick to easy, because we still believe it has one of the most powerful content models in the market. Quality of code is something that you don't appreciate before you try to grapple with other CMSs, and then you start having a lot of problems if code is not well done. And we still believe that Easy has one of the leading ones here, leading CMSs. And of course, Symphony. Symphony, in our opinion, was one of the best choices that guys made, so we can extend it and make a lot of integrations, which would be much more harder if it wasn't full stack Symphony application. So the first one, but maybe the least important of these components that I want to introduce from Netgen is Netgen Admin UI. Why I said the least important? Because it will probably be discounted soon. It is a redesigned version of Easy Publish 5 CMS administration, which we developed and integrated with Symphony stack via something which is called Hybrid Easy Setup, and I think most of you know what's behind that name. And why was it important? We wanted to have a gradual upgrade path for the sites that needed both the legacy features, like, for example, SEXML or workflow, legacy workflow, but we also wanted to use easy platform features. So we actually had to have something in between while we wait for easy platform admin UI to be stable enough. Because easy platform admin UI is progressing very fast, we will probably be discounting this admin UI soon, but we still use it on our everyday projects because we are still dependent on some of these features from the legacy. For example, like SEXML, we still use it. So this is just a screenshot. I will be demoing later how it actually works. And it's a simple redo of the legacy easy administration. The first layer, which is really important, and that will actually have a separate workshop just after this one, is Site API. So in a sentence, it is a productivity layer, which is built for easy developers to enhance the developer experience. So what we have found out when we started working with the new stack is, although it's very stable, robust, it's sometimes a little bit too tedious when you're writing code for it. So what we wanted to make is a solution that will enable us to, and other people, to develop easy websites faster, easier, and less error-prone. So when I say faster, I mean that in the old days, you may remember if you've done legacy work, there was a kind of a developer which we used to call template developers, which was a technical person, but which didn't have so much PHP knowledge. So there was a layer of abstraction which enabled, let's say, junior developers or even non-PHP developers to develop simple and maybe not so simple pages. This is something which is kind of was lost in the transition to Symphony. So we wanted to again enable this segment of developers to be really productive, because in most of websites that you develop, there is always like 80-20 or some part of the site which is not that difficult to make, and you shouldn't be needing a senior PHP dev to just create a simple full view or a couple of pages. So we wanted to again enable these people to be really productive. Secondly, we wanted to reduce writing repetitive and boilerplate code, because even for the senior guys, if you have to produce large amount of code, there is always a problem that you will make some kind of mistake, and then this really makes the development more expensive and so on. And of course, out of it there come errors, and the stability is not that great. So we really wanted to speed up and to make the development of sites better than it is right now. Also, what was the problem, because the core APIs of Easy are really core APIs and they are very stable, we wanted to have a layer which we can evolve much faster. So we don't wait for Easy to, I don't know, introduce some kind of a helper function or whatever. We just provide it via Site API, which is a layer above the core APIs, and then you can use it on your site. As I said, this is open source for some time right now, and there will be a workshop in the afternoon, and I think it's would be really good for you to check it out. So a layer above Site API, we have these site bundles. So the first one is Netgen Site Bundle. It is a bundle that implements smaller common features that we use by developing our website. So things like menu builder, user registration workflow, set of block plugins and queries for Netgen layouts. I will come to that later also. Symphony commands for instancing and generating sites and so on. So this is just a utility layer that you can use when you develop your sites. Again, on top of it and using it, we have a much bigger bundle, which we now call Netgen Media Site. So the idea was that for our own use and for others, we wanted to create an implementation of a demo site or example site that you can use as a skeleton when you are developing your next easy project. So we chose this media website to develop a media website because this is one of the most common use cases that we have in Netgen. So we build a lot of these sites, and we wanted to have a good start when we do this kind of work, so we don't redo a lot of work. So it is work in progress. So we will be always adding new features and new core features to this layer, and we will be also releasing similar blueprint sites for other use cases. For example, there is a big difference in what you are when you are building a company site, which is a lot of landing pages, simple pages with images and not that much end content, and when you are building a media site. Also, there is a use case for e-commerce sites if you want to build. So right now we chose to first solve one use case, which is like a media website, and then we will probably be very soon open sourcing other blueprint sites that you can use for different use cases. Again, it is available as of this month on GitHub, so you can download it and check it out. What's also important, when you install this media site, you will get all the rest of the stack. So it will be ready for your use in 10 minutes if you choose to use it. So some of the features in the Netgen media site that we introduced. First, although we do have demo sites already now, they are kind of not production ready. So you have a set of classes and backend and front-end code, but it's what we used to do is to delete them all and then create our own setup out of nothing. So what we wanted to have here is have a production-ready set of content types, backend and front-end code included, but also a lot of content views that you always have to develop. Not only full views, but also teaser views like line view, block item view, and so on. Also, we have plugged in a lot of additional bundles. For example, we solved some GDPR pain points that we were all discussing a couple of months ago in details. For example, GDPR support for collected info. Also cookie consent model and similar. We also introduced some SEO features like meta attributes, open graph integration, instant articles, AMP, structured data coming really soon, and so on. The whole front-end stack is built with Webpack, so we are really trying to be in line with the most recent developments on that front also. And some other stuff like cloud-based digital asset management. We have a bundle which plugs into Cloudinary. I don't know, have you heard about it? It's like a cloud-based digital asset management system in which you can actually not use local images at all. We have sites which we just remove the image attributes like they are done in standard EZ, and then just use this Cloudinary replacement. And it's really doing really good, especially on these media sites, so you can use it also. And there is a set of these other features that is included in media site. Mario will be covering some of them during his part of presentation. So this is just the front end. I will later come to it again. And then comes the part which is maybe the most important to explain, because it is something that we developed which didn't exist in EZ before. So Netgen layouts, I don't know how many of you have heard about it or used it. Any hands? Okay, so this is a good start for you, because now they're open source. You can just download them, use them. So in a couple of sentences, it is a site building tool that basically does two things. So the first thing is enables site builders to create and manage layouts, similar something which Easy does with their own page builder. But difference here is actually we create and manage layouts of all the site pages. So not just the landing pages and front pages, but also article page, I don't know, some search page, user registration page, and so on. So we actually apply, via this solution, we can apply different layout to all of these pages that you have on your site. Also, you have blocks, like other also page builders do, but they can connect to different content repositories. For example, there is one use case which I will touch later on, which actually connects to custom-based backend to get the content inside the grid. For example, you can, if it's an e-commerce solution, you can have a grid on your CMS, on your easy solution, which plugs into Cilius endpoint. So you just get the products in a grid without creating proxy objects in Easy to connect to the backend. So this is, we really spent some time, I will be demoing it later, so you will get the basic idea. Additional thing, which is maybe something that Easy didn't have, not maybe, but didn't have before, is actually that we enable configurable mapping of layouts to HTTP requests. So we actually can lay out any URL that sits on your site. So, for example, we can lay out search, we can lay out custom modules, we can lay out user registration, and all of these mappings, this layouting can be fine-tuned via extendable system of targets and conditions. I will come to it a little bit later to explain, but it's really powerful because you can use it in different user scenarios. One of the things that we actually started with, we wanted to enable not only developers, but also site builders and power editors to do this kind of stuff. Because like in any CMS, you can always get your developer to build your layouts for search page or whatever, but sometimes it's a little bit expensive. So what we are trying to do is to reduce load on developers, because there is always work for developers on the more complex stuff, and empower site builders to create really not so simple pages on complex CMS projects. So in a way it's a tool, not only, it's a tool for, I would say, at least two types of, or three persons. So there's a site builder, power editor, and the developer. They all have their own way of using layouts. So layouts, they were built for Symphony. So although they are tightly integrated with Easy, and we probably will be using it if you choose to use it most on Easy projects, they can be actually used on any Symphony project. So it's easy to extend and integrate, and it can plug into probably any backend content which has a good API for accessing content. So for example, out of the box we come with integrations for Easy, but also we have a Cilius integration. So I don't know how much of you have heard about Cilius. It's a Symphony full stack e-commerce solution which is gaining real traction now. And for example, there is a use case for using headless systems like Contentful. For example, the 2018 site for Web Summer Camp actually is made, it was like an experiment on our side. It is a Symphony application which doesn't use Easy, it actually used the Contentful endpoint to get the articles and all the content and to lay out them. So actually, although it's tightly integrated with Easy, and we have been using it with Easy on maybe 90% of the projects, it's actually can be used on any Symphony solution. We have been really working for quite some time on it. So we started development in 2015, and we have created the open source version now in this month. So it is open source. Again, you can download it from at this time and check it out. One of the things regarding these content endpoints that needs to be said also, that you can also do mashups. So these mashups are it is more and more a common thing that we see, that you, for example, have an Easy CMS, then you plug into external e-commerce system to get the products or whatever, and then you again maybe plugging into some custom systems to get something completely custom made for the project. So you can actually use the same layout which plugs into different endpoints to get the content. what is important for you here to be said is actually that we, from the get-go, we wanted to be very friendly to the developer community. So because we are a developer-oriented company and we also wanted other people to use it, we really tried our best to make it as easy to use as possible. So we are extendable on multiple levels. We can extend, I will come later to it, what are the major parts of layouts, but you can really make it work in your use case. So it is also very well documented. We support Symphony 4, Flex coming soon, and if you need any help, we usually can be contacted on Easy Slack or wherever. There will be a workshop on layouts on Friday, where Eddie, who is the main developer of the system, will be showing how easy it is to extend and work with layouts as a developer. So because this is a new component, I just wanted to quickly go through the basic elements of layout. So as I said, first thing that we do, we create and manage layouts. So this is the interface that we use for creating and managing layouts. It looks similar to some of the stuff that you probably have been seeing. And it actually enables, this is the tool that we need to, this is the level of user-friendly interface that you have to have in order for some site builder, which is a non-technical person, to be able to use it. I will be demoing it later, so you will see it in action. The first element, or the first part of the layout system is layout type. So layout type is a configuration that actually defines the layout structure. So it defines actually zones that serve as placeholder for layout blocks. This is something which most of these systems use, so you are probably familiar with how it works. Out of these layout types, layout instances are made, and they are then filled with different blocks that plug into backend content repositories, or they contain the features. Then on this block, some of these blocks, which do plug into backend content management systems, they have block items, and they actually map to content objects in these systems, such as Easy, for example. So not all blocks need to use it, but if you want to fetch some content from backend, you will probably use these block items. Block items and blocks, they can be, they have what we call block views or block item views. Block views define how the entire block looks like. For example, if you have a block which is called grid, which shows content in some kind of grids, the block view would be a 2-column, 3-column grid, or some kind of asymmetric grid or whatever. So as a developer, you predefine these block views, and then the editor can just use it to work with their site. Block item views define how the content chunks, the bits of content inside the blocks are presented, and these correspond to content views Easy, so you can reuse the same templates that you develop for your, let's say, standard Easy development. Some specific block types are, for example, content container, container block, which actually serves like a container for other blocks. You may have a situation where you have a standard layout, but you want to create a sub-layout. For example, you want to additionally put stuff in 2 or 3 columns, then we have a special block for it. You just drag and drop it to the layout, and then you can move stuff inside the block itself. So it's really useful when you need some kind of special sub-layouting on a specific page, and you don't want to create another layout type. It's maybe too much work, and it's not really needed. And the last block that I will later also show is something which we call the twig block. And this twig block is actually very important because they enable positioning of custom code output inside of layout. So let's say you develop a full view for some kind of content, and you want to use layout with it. So developers want to do their work inside of Twig and Symphony. They are not so much, they don't want to mess around with this kind of tool. So what they need to do, they just create a Twig template like they always do, and we can map the output from your module to whatever layout you want to use it in. So for example, it is used on I don't know, full views, search modules and stuff like that. So chunks of output from your Twig templates are very easily positioned inside of layout, which is controlling, for example, the header, the footer, and I don't know, the right column on some parts of the page. So this is really important because this concept enabled us not to lay out only the landing pages and front page, but also all of the pages that you do on a Symphony application. So, and for example, if you do a Symphony app, for example, not a CMS solution, this is probably what you'll be using most of the time, just to position your output from your application. So for developers, this is a slide which kind of defines the whole structure. So we have a layout type, which is a blueprint for creating layouts. In these layouts, we have zones. Zones can also be shared. I will show it later on for reusability. And then these zones contain blocks. Blocks, again, are instance from blocks definition, and they can contain collections of block items. So it's really straightforward, something maybe similar to what other layouting systems do, but it's really well, in my opinion, well done and extremely extendable. So you can create your own layout types, you can create your own blocks with defined block definitions, you can create your own queries which map into different content repositories and so on. So this is the stuff that probably you've seen on other also layouting solutions. One thing that we think that is a good add-on to this system is actually this mapping of layouts to HTTP requests. So it's the second thing that we try to solve with layouts. So important thing to say once again is that in layouts, we do not apply layouts only to single easy objects, but we can apply them to groups of content objects, for example, to subtrees in your content tree. We can apply them to error pages. We can apply them to custom Symphony route, to search, to user register, to whatever. Actually, anything that has a URL can be used as a target for layouting. And we also can apply context when we do these mappings. So, for example, you can say, apply this layout to an article, but only if it's English site access. If it's French, I don't want to use this block. Or I will create another layout which is different. So you can really use this extendable system of targets and conditions to fine-tune your website. For example, another context is a content type. So you can say apply this layout to this subtree, but only if blog posts are used. If article is used, it will be something different and so on. And then, of course, you can go even further. You can use time. You can say, today I want to use this layout. So I say from this day to this day, I will use this layout, but because tomorrow is Christmas, I will introduce a big block with Santa on my front page. So this is also something that we can control. And there are other stuff like query strings and on. This is open for extending. So for example, we have now one actual Symphony application without EZ in which we use session to differentiate between layouts. So for example, if a user which logs into system is of a certain user group, he will get an additional toolbar with additional stuff on the right side. So it's really, really extendable. Also, user preferences can be used and stuff like that. This is, in a way, a graph which should define how actually this works. So you have a standard Symphony request, which goes into Symphony controller, and then we are using Twig to layout to output stuff. So in Twig, we start the mapping system, and it goes through this list of, let's say, configurations, which have targets and conditions, trying to find the first applicable layout. So it can differentiate on site access, on time, or whatever. It goes through this list, and when it finds the appropriate layout, in this use case, it's the layout 3, it returns back to Twig, and then the output is layouted via this layout. So it's actually this request controller Twig response is probably something that you are very, very familiar with. So it really neatly plugs in the whole process, and you can make really small changes to your application to enable it to work with layouts. So we have been working on this, as I said, for a long time, and we have some early adopters which are already using it. Some of them are here also. So right now we have about 17 companies from 10 countries. They are testing and using layouts from different countries. 5 of them actually have sites in production, and total we have about 17 sites in production that use layout. So it is, I think, we waited with open sourcing the stuff until we were really certain that it's proven on the battlefield. So I think that right now it's a good time for you to test it out. A year ago or a year and a half ago, it still had some rough edges, but right now I think it's ready for wider adoption. So this is one of the stuff that we just wanted to show. This was done actually by a partner company. It's not by us, and they have been using layouts for quite some time with, I think, good results. And they actually used layouts to plug into their own custom systems based on Solar, which is really a complex solution. And what is really important, I wasn't that much involved in the project, but what I figured out is we actually had only some questions when they were using this system. So it seems that it's really working for them quite nicely, and they have been able to develop on their own solutions which are really, really interesting, to say the least. So that's more or less it with the slides. Now I would like to switch to demoing some of this stuff that I was talking about. So let me just switch to this. So there is a couple of things that I would like to show you. So we don't have much time. I think we are already over the, not that much time. So I will just go quickly through the setup. So I will be demoing two, maybe three, but let's say two major stuff. So the Netgen media site and the Netgen layouts system. So this is the media site that we have been developed. So more or less, it's a typical niche media site. We choose this fit and healthy theme because it's quite easy to find open source content. So we are not that much into healthy eating and bodybuilding, but it seems it's very popular, and you can get a lot of pictures and a lot of content from it to it. So this is the theme. This kinds of sites is something that we develop almost all the time. So it was also then very easy for us to really plug into the problem and to solve some really interesting solutions. So as for media site, when you go to the backend, so this is the admin UI that I was talking about. I won't go through it because it's more or less just a redo of a standard easy administration, but it's very simple. So what you have here, you have let's say, basic architecture of the site is contained from the front page, so the home. And then on this page, you have a lot of blocks which plug into different kinds of sections on your site to get the content from it. So apart from it, there is a couple of grouping pages. So for example, fitness or healthy eating, these are examples of landing pages. So the pages which group a lot of content, but they still have highly configurable layouts. So this page has, for example, two grids. It has this grid above and this grid below. So it's not a typical just category page with just pages from one content feed, but it also can have a lot of blocks which present some kind of content. So these layouts on these pages they are quite configurable. They are mostly used by power editors. So you won't be seeing a simple editor creating a page like this. So that's the main difference from, let's say, a standard category page like recipes, which is very simple. It just contains some content, which is in a page and so on. So these are the two grouping pages that we have. And the third grouping page that we have is the topic page. For example, like this running page here, which actually uses tags, easy tags to gather content from different sections of the site. So the fitness and health eating, they contain their own content. So in the content tree, which we can see here, they actually have a lot of sub-items. And then we have these topic pages which do the grouping of content, but they are using the tag for getting the content. This is typical use case that we have on a number of these sites that we have developed. They usually create a couple of, let's say, main grouping pages, like in this use case, this is fitness, healthy eating, recipes, and then they want to have ad hoc situation. For example, there is a running, they want to sell some running shoes, and they will create a topic page, just content from which is tagged with running, and then change layout, input some ads or whatever to it. So this is like standard example of a media or a simple site like this. So apart from it, we have again a straightforward set of classes which are used for end content, how we used to call it. So these are the, let me just show it here in the setup on the classes section. These are standard suspects like articles, blog posts, news. Then we have, I think, here videos, a lot of videos. But also we introduced some custom data types, for example, like recipe, because we wanted to. This is kind of a content type which is usually depends on the topic of your site. In this case, it's health and health-based site, so you can have a lot of healthy recipes here. So this is something that is probably not that interesting to you. What is I would like to emphasize here that these are actually production-ready content types. So they're not just showcases. There is a set of features included in these content types. For example, like fallback options for images. So then SEO stuff. A lot of embedded features. So you can use, for example, galleries which can be linked to an article to replace images and stuff like that. So these are smaller problems that we used to solve like on tens of projects all over again, and we just wanted to have one good production-ready setup that you can use on your site out of the box. So it's really, I think, ready for usage. And if you have time, do check it out. I think you will find it quite satisfying. There are also some utility-based content types. For example, like I don't know, banners. It is just a simple content type which is used to create teaser blocks when you want to link to an external source, or you just want to create a landing page with lots of image text combinations. There is also a shortcut and I don't know, container HTML box, because sometimes you just need to output some dumb HTML somewhere on the page, and so on and so forth. These are again classes that over the time we have always been using, and we wanted them to be included for you to have it out of the box. Also, for example, some some utility content types like menu item, which can be used for building menus. And then there is one class which I think Mario will speak a little bit, which we call a site info. So site info is a class, is a content type, which is used like a property bag for your site. So if you have a multi-site setup, you will have a couple of these site infos, each handling its own sites. You put, I don't know, main menu stuff, main menu objects here. You will put additional menus if you have a menu and footer or wherever, site logo, text which go to header, footer, and similar. So these are just smaller bits and pieces that we have been redoing all the time, and we really wanted to have a good jump start on our next project. So I won't go that much into this because I don't have much time. Mario will be showing some of these solutions. But as I said, it's not that this is something really not seen before. It's the whole thing which is wrapped up so you can use it out of the box. So you can really be creating this kind of a site in a matter of days or weeks instead of creating the whole project just to create something that you have created 10 times before. And we, of course, are looking for contributions. If you have some ideas here, I really think there is a need in Easy community to have this kind of sites. Maybe they would be called themes in other CMSs, which can really speed up your development, so you don't redo all the stuff all the time. So the next part of this presentation, I would like really to explain a little bit more about layouts. So layouts, as I said before, are an add-on to Easy, better to say on Symphony, which we developed for a couple of years already. And the first screen that is important here is this layout section. So in this, in the layout administration, we can see now a series of layouts. Some of them I will be checking out later. But just for you to see how you create a new layout, you just click here on a button, and then you will choose a layout type. So these are, of course, configurable. So you can sometimes create a layout type which is for your use case, we try to cover the most standard ones on this setup, but it's something that you've probably already seen on similar stuff. So let's say, call it Web Summer Camp Demo Layout. And then when you click Create, it just opens up interface. We didn't want to go with creating a what you see is what you get kind of interface, because it's not what we are trying to do. We wanted more to create a kind of a wireframey look, so you can just move stuff around, because what is important and what we had input from our developers, they don't want from front-end developers, they don't want the web administrators and to push images, pixel push them around. They want to have the full control over the output, but there is a compromise. In this use case, the site builder will just use oops, sorry. I know it was, okay, I will not touch it anymore. So the site builder will just use this interface to create the structure of the site by drag and dropping, let's say, title or a list of things and whatever. And then, of course, the front-end guys, they really have the choice which front-end framework to use or whether to use it at all. We didn't want to make it too opinionated. So, for example, that you have to use Bootstrap or you have to use whatever front-end technology is available now. So it is more for creating and handling the structure, not the really the details of the output. So that's how the layouts are created from layout types. So the next thing I would like to show to you are the blocks themselves. So for this use case, I will try to use some of the pre-built layouts, so we don't, because it will take some time to move all those blocks around. So this is, for example, the layout which is applied on home, on the front page. So in this use case, we have this page. Let me just click it here, which is, as I said before, pretty much straightforward. It has some manually picked articles on the top, and then it has some feeds which are fed, some content which is fed from the content backend, and then it has some ads in it, and so on and so forth. All of this is actually in a wireframe look. It's available for the editor to pick and choose and to modify from this interface. So the blocks are all here in this left section, and I will just quickly go through what are the pre-inbuilt blocks that we have in layouts, and of course you can, as I said before, you can build your own. So we have some basic blocks like title, text, links, HTML snippets, and so on, which you can just drag and drop wherever you like. For example, if you want to have like I don't know, HTML snippet just below this section here, here on top. So it's very easy to move around. Then we have these content-driven blocks, for example, like lists, grids, slider, galleries, which actually tap into the backend systems to get the content. Then we have the mentioned container blocks. So container blocks, if you want to lay out stuff inside the predefined zones of a layout type. And then we have in the display coder section, we have the twig blocks, which are used to put your output of your backend code to put it somewhere in the layout itself. So all of these blocks, they actually have properties, as one would expect. So for example, if we click on this grid feature, this is the topmost block here, we can say in this right section here, we have a lot of properties on this block. The properties are mostly divided in two sections. We have a design section, which defines how the block looks like. So you can choose the view type, so if you want a grid or a list or whatever. And other related properties, for example, like number of columns. Here we want this content to be in 3 columns, background colors, vertical white space. These are, although this seems like you can really fine-tune the look and feel of your site, they actually, all that these produce are additional classes or containers, divs in output. So you cannot enter like yellow here, this is just a list of predefined stuff that is defined by the designer that can be applicable on the object itself. So we don't really, again, want to go into this where, I don't know, Squarespace or similar products operate. I won't go into this much longer because we don't have time, but there is a wide set of these design-related properties that can be applied on a given block. Blocks have different properties. So if you go to, for example, this HTML snippet, it just has a smaller subset of properties. And then title, again, which is even doesn't have any content section, it has another set of properties. So this can really be fine-tuned. We come with a predefined set of blocks that you can do most of the standard stuff with. But some, for example, some of our partners, they actually created their own versions of these blocks because they wanted to go that way. So it's really not limiting you in that you have to do it this way. Also, there is one small note that extending a block is very easy. So there is a system of block plugins in which, for example, if you want, everything is working for you with the grid, but you want another property for your use case. I don't know, it can be a link on the grid. So when you click on the grid itself, it goes somewhere. You can easily add your own properties to a block. So that is the design properties. The other set of properties is content. So if design shows how it's presented, content actually shows what is presented in this block, if it is a content block. Some of the blocks like title or HTML snippet, they don't have a content that they plug into. But for example, grids, sliders, and stuff like that, like usual, that they plug into CMS. So this example, the grid on top, it's actually something which, it uses something which we call manual collection. And what it means that actually you pick and choose items from your end CMS. In this case, it's easy, which will be presented in this block. So you can, for example, go to fitness and choose one of the articles to be there. So it's very easy, something that you probably already have seen on other stuff, on other projects and products. So this is a manual collection, but of course there is also a dynamic one. So if you, for example, go to this block here, you will see actually that it's not, these items are not manually picked, that actually using something which we call query to get the content out of CMS. In this case, it's an easy platform, so we are using easy platform query type. If you wanted to plug into Celius, it would be a Celius query, which uses their endpoint, and then you would get I think they have products which have taxons. They have their own way of organizing the products in the product. So in this use case, it is an easy platform query, and you now have a set of checkboxes and drop-downs which define how do you get content into this block. So you are saying here that we want to have content from parent location healthy eating. So it's a landing page that we described before. We want it to be sorted by publish date descending. We want to go only one level because maybe sometimes we want to go through the entire sub-tree of your content tree. So it can be a tree fetch or a list fetch. And you can say, I want to be fetching only main locations and so on and so forth. We can, again, filter by content type. We can say, give me just articles, just blog posts, whatever you need. And then it can be also filtered by section or filtered by object state. These are some pre-built stuff that cover, I don't know, 90% of use cases on a typical site. Of course, once again, you can develop your own queries. It is very well documented how to do it, and then you can plug in whatever endpoint you want, and the system you want to plug into. There is also a number of items, or maybe skipping a couple of items in front, so offset and limit. And this creates now a fetch. This fetch is immediately shows in this section here and shows in the layout itself here. What you can do, what is important to say, is you can mix. So for example, you can, inside of these elements which are dynamically fetched, you can add some, I don't know, emphasized or whatever object manually. So you can go again to the fitness and choose this object and then put it like a manual object inside of the dynamic list. This is important because things are never simple. So on some of these sites, there will be an editor, and he will say, okay, but on the third place in this block, I want to have an ad. Or let's say I want to emphasize one article to put it on top, and it was published like 2 years ago or whatever. So with this combination of dynamic and manual items, you can really work in this combination. And of course, you can move around, so you can, for example, put the manual item in third position and so on and so forth. This use case actually shows the offsetting. So in this use case, it is this E12 section here. Just let me show it. So this is actually the first element, and then we want to continue by skipping the first object because it's presented like in a different block item view type. So in this way, how it's done, we have one list which shows just one item, and it uses the same fetch. So we are fetching from the same parent location with same parameters, but we are just outputting one item, and then just underneath it we are skipping the first item, which is the one above, and then paging for the later ones. So this is really something that you'll be probably doing a lot on this kind of projects. So I think that I covered most of this stuff. Yeah, block views and block item views are a part of design system. So for example, this grid here, it uses grid view type, and it uses the overlay block item view type. If we wanted to change it, we can say, for example, that we use standard with intro, and that we want 3 columns, although it's not going to look pretty, but it's really easy to change the layout and how your site looks like by using this predefined view type. So right now you see this is different block item view type, and it's more condensed because we are using three columns here. So these are the basic stuff around the content and the design properties of a block. One thing that I said that I wanted to show is the usage of the twig block itself. So to show this, I will open another layout. And this layout is, for example, this full view article. So this is a layout which actually outputs the full page when you hit an article on a site. So it's very simple because we wanted to make it. So it has a header, it has a footer, and then it has something which we call the full view. And what happens here, that actually we will apply, also it has this pre-footer, which is a shared zone. I will touch on it later. But the important thing for the twig block here is that actually you can output any custom twig output in this position. So it will just work around your output. It will put it will lay out it inside zones, but you have the full freedom to work with your full views however you like. This is also a good fallback for us because right now we have when we are transitioning some projects from before, we have a situation where we have a lot of these full views already done. And we don't want to make them all, maybe there is no need to make them all layouty, to make them chunked in layout. So we just use this full view to put them inside header, footer, maybe some additional stuff, and that's that. It works like in 10 minutes you can change all of your full views to be layout ready, Netgen layouts ready. Other approach with these twig blocks can be seen in this example. It is another article which is actually applied to another section of site for the same content types, where we actually split the output into multiple twig blocks. So we have an article header, image, and body. These are actually, and I can show you this in code here, I don't know if it's visible here, but actually these are just blocks inside your twig. So article header is this block here. It goes somewhere till here. And then we have here, we have an image block, and then we have a body block. And these are chunks of your full view that can be moved around in your layouts by using these twig blocks. Again, a cool thing is to make these blocks inside each other. So for example, if I want to just put a full view actually just maps to the content block. It's just a convention. So full view is a twig block which maps to the content block. So in this use case, if when the other layout, the article version 1 is used, it just uses this complete content block and then just outputs everything in one single section. So it's really by changing your, for example, if we were switching to layouts from a standard, let's say easy non-layout solution, you will probably already have this content block, and we just work out of the box if you use the full view block in layouts. We use it, for example, on search pages and similar. So that's the twig block. So I think that this is, I don't have much time, so I will speed up even more. 15 minutes, yeah. So I would like to show some use cases at the end, so I don't know if I will have time. So one of the things that I skipped in the first part of the presentation is something which is called the shared layout. So what is a shared layout? A shared layout is it's actually a way for you to reuse zones between multiple layouts. So for example, a typical example is header and footer. You don't want to, in each layout, to create its own header and footer, and when you change in one, you would have to change like in 50 layouts. So what we actually do, we create a header and footer in a shared layout. So actually it's here. It's just a simple layout that has just two blocks. It has layout, it has header and footer. And if I was, for example, to put a title here, then this actually would be applied on all the layouts. It will be applied on all the pages of your site because it is linked to them. So how do you link these together? If we go to some standard layout, for example, let's go to full article. You have this option. You will see that the topmost zone and the bottom zone, they are in red. I don't know if it can be seen, but they are actually in red. And what you can do, there is this link zone option down here in which you can actually pick and choose if you want to connect some of your zones to shared zones. So for example, in this case, we connected the header zone of our layout for the article to the shared layout, which is called header footer, and to its header zone. So if we click here, it is, we can, for example, update link, we can change it, we can, I don't know, if you want to put the footer on top, we can just link to a footer here instead of header. So we can really easily rearrange stuff around. This is, as I said before, the standard example of this is header and footer, but also there is a lot of use cases. For example, when the client says, on this project, in the right column, I would like to have a certain set of, I don't know, ads or a certain set of linked articles. And then by using these shared layouts, you can just easily apply them to a range of end layouts, and then just very easy, it becomes very easy to handle these kind of situations. Before it would take changing the code and, I don't know, all the unnecessary work on the developer side. So this is what we call the shared layout. So I don't have really much time, I think 10 minutes more. The final thing, and the one which is actually quite important, is the whole layout mapping thing. So if you go to layout mappings here, you will see this is the list of mappings that are used on this concrete site. So a mapping is actually a configuration. So what you have a mapped layout. In this case, it's a front page layout. You have a target. In this case, it's easy location. So you are targeting the number 2 node on the location of easy, and you don't have any condition in use case. We will come to some examples later which do. So what this means, when the request comes to the site, it will traverse through these layouts, and if it's if the easy location which is being hit is home, it will use this layout. If not, if for example we are targeting a topic page, let's say this running topic page, it will go through each other before until it finds the first one it can use, and then apply. Every one of these mappings, it's very easy to add a new one. I will just show you here. They are always, like I said, have these triplets. You have to link a layout to it. You have to choose the target. So there is a list of possible targets here. So there is standard ones like easy content, easy location, easy subtree, if you want to apply a layout to complete to a subsection of your site. Then there is also URLs. So these are all ways that you can map to URLs here. So it's really a configurable way. You can add your own targets, but I think that this set here covers most of them. There is also conditions. So about conditions, we have, for example, a root parameter. We can use query parameters. We can say if this query parameter is in the URL, then apply another layout. We can, for example, tap into the error codes. So if some error code is returned, you can use this as a condition. Also time, site access, and so on. So it's better shown on the example. So I will go for actual 3 types of mappings that are usually on the site. So we have this one-to-one mappings, like this one goes to home fitness, and so on. And then you have this full view mapping. So in this use case, for example, we wanted to apply a layout which will be applied on all the recipes on the site. In this case, we will apply to the complete easy subtree. So we say apply to the home and the subtree, but we will make a condition so it uses only content type recipe when hitting this mapping. So this is a way to introduce like full view layouts. And the third one, which is maybe something which is more important on the kind of application style installations, is that you can actually map to the URL. In this case, is this semantic for prefix is the correct target. For example, this layout is applied on content search. So if you hit /content/search URL, this will be the applied layout. These things are really, this is a simple site, so it doesn't show how much you can do it. For example, imagine a situation where you have like a multi-site. So maybe you will, usually we have people ask for us, okay, if it's a different language, or if it's a different site, use slightly different layouting. So with this, we can easily say, okay, all of these just apply to site access, French or whatever. And then we can make another mapping, which is completely similar, but just maps to another condition, to another site access to style the article a little bit different on the English site access. So it comes to real use on these more complex setups, and you can really make quite easier the job of your core developers. You don't have to really work all the time. You can really use these power editors to create this kind of situations. So I would just like to showcase a little bit some specific use cases for this. For example, on this site, we have search. I pass it here. We have search, which is of course layouted with Netgen layout. So if we search, for example, I remember this from when we were building site, we will have a set of results. Again, integration with Symphony helps here with Symphony toolbar, so we can quite easily see here that we resolved the search layout. It is of layout type 2, and if we click here, we have even more information. We see all the rendered blocks. So this is a search route, so it's mostly using twig blocks and some shared blocks, and then it's very easy to debug. But what I actually wanted to do here is, let's say I have a message from the client. They want to add additional footer thing, whatever, let's say a grid of components, if we hit this exact search query. So I can see here that actually this query is, it can be pinpointed via query, via these parameters here. So what I do, I can go here and let me just remove this not needed, and create additional layout which will be applied only if I search for this term. So the first thing, of course, is to create a layout for it. I will just copy the existing search one so we don't lose time here. We can call it search heat. And then maybe just add a title, because we don't have time to do more, to underneath the standard full view. So I will just drop a title here, and I will say this is heat search. Not very imaginative, but it will serve the purpose. So I publish this layout. So right now this layout just floats around. It's not mapped to anything, but we can go back to the layout mappings and go to the layout resolver and to the layout mappings and then create additional mapping which will link to that layout we just created. It's search heat here. And we will say we want to map it to semantic path info. Oh, prefix, sorry. And say, okay, map this to content. I have to type correctly, content/search. Save target. And then I can say if query parameter, and I will just copy it from here so I don't get it wrong. Oops. Search text is heat. And I will save this condition. So right now we have a mapping which maps to content search and only will be applied if query parameter is heat. I can do save changes now. What is important here that we always create these mappings for in inactive state, so it doesn't mess up your site if you broke something. So what I need to do, I need to activate it. And the second thing is, because right now it's underneath all of these existing layout mappings, it will never be hit, because there is this default layout here, which is like a safeguard, which actually maps to everything. You can actually remove it, but it's best to keep it there. So nothing will pass underneath. So what we have to do additionally is to reorder the mappings. So we have this search heat above the old search mapping. Why is this important? Because the search is more generic than search heat. And if we didn't put it above it, the search would just be the first one which is resolved, and then we won't have the desired effect. So if we save order right now, and everything is there, if we reload this URL, there should be an ugly title underneath everything. If we do other kind, for example, run, then it takes some time to generate all these images because this is on my local computer. So there shouldn't be anything above it. So this is like a simple way that you can, for example, different use case would be if you have a hit on your site from Facebook. So usually they put a lot of stuff in the query. You can use this kind of parameters to present, I don't know, additional ad or maybe a slightly different layout. So this is one use case which goes a little bit outside of the standard setup that we have on most of the sites. I don't think that I have one minute left. So, for example, let's say we want to have this search heat applied, but only today. So what we can do, we can go to the mapping here, and because all of the conditions that we defined on mapping must be met, we can add another one. We can say, okay, let's do another time condition, and say that this mapping will be applied from today. So let's say it's today from 10, okay, this is some complicated interface, 10 p.m., and now I have to find Zagreb, until 11 p.m. Or 12 p.m., 12:30. So in this way, we can make it so that this is a layout which will just appear and then disappear from your site. Of course, there is a caching thing that needs to be handled in this use case. Yeah, probably. I didn't get it. Yeah, I forgot it here. So it should be Zagreb also. Yeah, but you get the feeling. So the idea is that this is really something which is very, very out of the box. It's very configurable. This is all in the open source version, and then you can additionally add your own conditions, which can really go in wherever you want to go. For example, this is so again there is this use case right now that we actually use. We plug into the database to get some information about the user and then apply a layout based on this information. And this, of course, has to be again cached because it has to be fast and so on and so forth. So the basic elements are here. They are open source, they are extendable, and the only thing that you have to do is to go to our GitHub page and create a couple of commands, and you will get everything up and running for your testing and hopefully production sites. So we are just on time. I hope I wasn't too quick or too fast, but if you have any questions, we can talk now or afterwards, and feel free to grab any of us for a question. Okay?
Just a second.
I don't know how much do you need coffee right now. So.
Yeah. Okay. Just quick question about the time filter. So basically, you're running some cron jobs or something synchronously on your project server.
Can you repeat the question, please?
For the time filter on your conditions,
Here, yeah, okay.
are you running some cron jobs on your server or something like that?
I don't quite get. Actually, it just checks the timestamp, so it uses standard PHP.
It uses the Symphony request object.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It filters from it.
And in terms of performance, adding some filters, did you add some troubles?
Well,
Basically, with all of those conditions, it has to be some logical time to apply.
well, there is always the caching thing. So in front of this solution, there is a varnish or something which handles most of the requests anyhow. So we really spend Eddie. You can ask these questions really to Eddie because he's the mastermind behind the code. But we spent some time into optimizing this resolvement system. So of course, because you have this hit on every request which is not cached in Varnish, it has to be very quick. So for example, if you put a condition which is very time demanding and goes to database or whatever, it will have a performance hit, but it has to be handled either with caching in front of the site or with caching internally. So it can be handled. What we tried is to optimize the whole resolution. So we first tried to find the best way not to go through actually each of these conditions, but just to subsections them. But Eddie, as I say, will be more helpful in how did he actually do it. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have a very short question.
Okay.
So in this example, we have a condition if search text is equals to heat. How hard it would be to change this condition? So if search text contains heat but is not equals to heat.
I mean, like, I think it would be pretty much trivial to do. I mean, the developers can answer this question, but I think it's just a standard PHP pattern matching.
It's a simple plugin.
Yeah.
If you're more about it, you can go offline and workshop maybe will show
Yeah. So
internals of layouts.
So for example, there is this cookbooks here. This is the document side that we have, and there is this condition creating condition.
Basically, anything that is in the Symphony requests, you can use to provide the targeting criteria.
Yeah. So you can easily change that it doesn't exactly matches heat, but it actually uses a pattern match or whatever.
How hard it would be to add a new option in this condition matching type?
This is what you have to go. You have to go to this section on the docs and just follow this. I think it's pretty much easy. It's a simple plugin which should be for the standard PHP developer. It shouldn't be much of a hassle.
The only restriction that you have is that you can basically use everything that is in the Symphony request, but of course you can match the layouts, but you are dependent on caches and everything. So basically, you could do a matching where you could, I don't know, match a layout by mobile device, by user agent, but then you also have to configure your caches to, make a difference between the mobile and desktop layouts. But it's really easy to write this additional condition type.
Yeah.
And
So
most of the condition types that we already have just came out of,
Use case.
necessity, because we needed them. We
Yeah.
needed to match, I don't know, the error pages, the error responses we needed to match.
yeah. So we have
Get parameters.
Yeah. We are continuously creating this as we need it on projects. We are continuously creating our own set of conditions, but it's, for example, in this one case of a Symfony application that we use layouts with, we actually, the guys who weren't involved in developing the layouts itself, they created a number of these conditions very, very, very easily. There'd be just minimal help from the core development. So in the end, it should be easy for you to do. Of course, you have to think about caching, which is something which is not directly handled in the layouts. If you have a varnish cache in front of your site, then it will, for example, if I created this time condition and then put a 2-day varnish cache in front of it, it wouldn't be checked. So you have to solve these things, but it gives you a tool set to work with. And we haven't, for example, for these external companies that work with us, we have strangely only a few questions regarding how to do it, because the provided documentation is, I think, really straightforward. We spent quite some time into creating it.
I'm sorry, I have a very silly question.
Yeah.
For example, if I add some custom condition and I use that in some mappings, and then I disable that custom condition, what will happen to my mapping?
You mean if you remove it from the code?
Yeah.
Probably just, it's an interesting question, but I think it would just, probably just would not use this condition. But you have to ask Eddie. So you have to come on Friday.
If you added a condition
he will
and it was
be
already applied to some page and then you removed it, it will still be applied until your caches expire. And after that,
but after that,
the layout will be resolved again. And if you have some...
but that's, I think that the situation here is that you actually remove the code of the condition.
I think it's pluggable, so you can just
untag
it and...
probably.
It will just be ignored.
Yeah. Knowing Eddie, he's very defensive kind of developer, so he'll probably just go through it, and there won't be a break. But ask him for a concrete question. You tried it? Or tried? Yeah. All you have to do is go to GitHub, do a little git pull, compose that thingy, and you can try it on yourself.
Okay.
Okay, so it's almost 11 o'clock. Thank you for your time. Once again, if you have any questions, you can come to me, or if for technical stuff, more to these guys. But try it, and I think you will enjoy it. Okay, thank you.
So let's start. So what is Netgen Media Site? So basically, the Netgen Media Site is basically the project skeleton, because you download the media site and you have some great starting point for your own projects. Basically, you have a pre-selection of templates, tested code, a lot of content types. Basically, probably you're bootstrapping probably the 30% of your work on the project. You have a big jump start. And this is the base for Netgen projects since 2014. And we did some simple sites with this, but we also did other sites with tens of millions page views per month. So I can say it's quite a firm foundation to go on. Okay, so technologies that we are using are basically technologies that you are using on daily basis. For example, you have PHP, you have Symphony, you have Twig, and Easy Platform 2.2, and to the newer versions. Of course, in 2014, there was no Easy Platform. We had Easy Publish 5, so Easy Publish 5 was at the core. And with the upgrade of Easy, we also upgraded the stack, and that also we will do in the future. For example, when Easy Platform 3 will be out, our base site will be based on Easy Platform 3. Okay, so some simple thing. You need to have some simple system requirements like PHP, database, web server, basically like every other web application. And now the second part, you can download media sites from our GitHub page. Basically, it's open source. Every single part of the media site is open. You can use it for free, download, distribute, whatever you want. And of course, we encourage you to use this site. And for example, if you have some better practices, better things, just open a pull request. So share with the community, basically, what you have. So the idea is very simple. You clone the repository, and you run composer install to install great packages. And after that, you run the yarn install. You will install with yarn. You do pretty much install all these hell packages. Probably we don't like it very much. All JavaScript stuff. And of course, you have to build all those assets, all those JavaScript, CSS, SAS files, whatever. And the third part is basically you run this console command to install basically the database. All those content types, articles, blog posts, everything will be installed with this single command. And for example, when you do all those steps, you should have something like this. You already saw this on Igor presentation. It is already pre-built site with a lot of templates, a lot of content types. Basically, everything is set for you and ready to do your own tweaks. Okay. So, of course, when you are cloning this repo and you are going to work on your own projects, and of course you're not Netgen, you have your own company, so you don't want the project to be called Netgen Media Site. It has to be called to your client. It should be all those naming, rebranding should be done to your own requirements. So, for example, we provide a simple command. It's called ngmore generate project that actually goes through the steps of initializing the project for you. It will rename all the templates, basically all the structure of media site. I will do a simple demonstration here for this. So, for example, I have a simple cloned site. For example, SRC, Netgen bundle. Everything is called by default Netgen Media, Netgen bundle, more demo bundle. And for example, now if you run the console ngmore generate project. First of all, it will ask us what is our client name. For example, we can do something like Acme. Our project name, for example, let's call it Imagine. Now it calls how our site is called. For example, let's say it's Imagine. Then we are adding site access. For example, let's call it English. We need language code for this site access, so let's add like English US. Then we do not want to add any more languages. We don't want to add none of the site access anymore, for example. Let's continue after. And now we have to set the name for our bundle. Let's leave it like this. Bundle name, okay, team name. So do you know the concept of theming in Easy Platform? Basically, before the themes, you had just resources, views, and then you just put all your templates inside. Now you have a concept of themes, so you can define which theme you will use per site access, for example, per site. I will show you the code a bit later on. Okay, and of course, inevitably, we are still using legacy for some simple things. It will also generate a legacy extension for us. Okay, and now it asks yes, so let's do the generation. Now it's generating all the things, renaming the project, installing the assets, like this. Come on. Okay, and of course you do not want this history from the project. You'll have your own Git, and that's it. And if you navigate now to SRC folder, there is no Netgen anymore. We call it Acme. So Acme bundle, imagine bundle. Then, for example, if you check out the dependency injection, we have Acme Imagine extension, so everything is preset basically. And the important stuff, we also have easy platform configuration set. So for example, we added the English site access. It is already here. It's added to the front-end group also. We have our Imagine theme. Basically, everything is up and ready for development. Okay. So let's inspect some project structure in administration interface. Let's see what we have in here. So we are using the Netgen admin UI. Igor already mentioned this. Basically, it's easy 5 admin interface with page layout, rewriting to use Symphony, and with pretty much UX, quite a lot of fixed, and it looks a lot of nicer than old Easy 5 administration, and it's more functional than, for example, the new admin the Easy provides. But also we are in process of deprecating this, because also, of course, the new administration is gaining features on a day-to-day basis. So probably in a year in a year we will switch to new administration that Easy provides. Okay. So first of all, the most interesting thing is, of course, the classes that we are, the content types we are providing with the installation. Basically, we have some set of classes. For example, like ng article that represents the generic article, audio, author, for example, banners, blog posts, category, for example. We use category, for example, if you need to list children with some kind of logic, then you can, for example, on the category page, you can choose which view types you want to display. Do you want to have everything in the list items? Do you want to have something like standard items? I will show you the design of this. And basically, the idea of category is to have a page that provides filtering. And also, the biggest point of this is, for example, when you say to someone that you have, in Netgen, we have some kind of convention, and when someone says, okay, it's an ng category, you automatically know, okay, it's a page that is displaying the children, and it's got some kind of logic there. And of course, when someone says, for example, we have a ng article, okay, we know it's simple article. For example, ng container is just a simple folder that contains all the items. It doesn't have quite a lot of logic in there. Basically, we provide some simple form called ng feedback form, from which you can derive your own forms. I'll show you the form in the next step. Then ng, for example, front page. The idea is to separate the main page in the site. For example, if you have multiple sites per installation, the first page will always be ng front page, because it's got a lot of functionalities that acts as a main page. Then, for example, we have ng gallery, HTML box. Also, Igor mentioned this. Also, landing pages, a bit more different than the category that somehow represents different kind of hierarchy, for example. Then we have a ng menu item. This is a class that you're using for menu building. So you can do quite a lot of customizing, quite a lot of tweaks. I'll also show you this later on. Then, for example, news, recipes, shortcuts, basically big set of content classes you have there. And for example, let's take a look at this content structure for this demo site. You'll see it's pretty much simple. We have some 2 landing pages, then you have a container, you have a topic objects. All the topics are also some, how to say, some kind of convention that the media site brings. We extracted this from a lot of projects that we did that were basically media types, sites of media types. Basically, the idea is to have a flat content structure, so you don't have a standard easy tree structure, but you just have one single object that, for example, has, in this case, we are doing filtering per tags. We just set the tag of running, and every single content that is tagged with this tag will be displayed on this page. Okay, we also have this media library. We also have some kind of conventions here. So, for example, we have a files directory. You'll put all your files there. Images in images, multimedia, of course, banners, menu items. So, for example, when you call someone from our team and you tell the person, okay, you can add images to this NG article, everybody knows where images are because we have a convention and you're always putting the stuff where they belong. Also, for example, we have configuration. Every single thing that is related to somehow to site configuration, you'll put it there. We have here a site info object. I will show its functionality a bit later. Okay, and of course, we have Netgen layouts, pre-installed, tags, and some other extensions I will show a bit later on. Okay, and after this, we are moving to the project structure from the code perspective, basically from standpoint of developer. Basically, I think that most of you are developers, right? So you'll be working with this. So let's check this out. So, first of all, I would like to notice, for you to notice one thing. This site doesn't have any PHP logic in it. So basically, it's a very nice site. It's got a lot of functionality, but we didn't write any single line of PHP code for this. So this is basically how the sites should be built with the easy. Simple sites should be done very easy way, and for example, when you are doing complex sites, you need to write business logic only in that case. So let's inspect, for example, a resources folder. We have the concept of teams. For example, we have common team. Basically, this is sharing all the templates that will be reusable across the whole project. And we have the demo team. Basically, that's our project folder, and all the templates are contained here. So, for example, we have a page layout. It is the main template, basically the whole backbone of the site, and all the other templates are basically included inside this page layout template. So basically, what would be very interesting to show, for example, we have a page header. In page header, we have for example, top menu, you have a search box, you have languages. So, for example, if you configured more than one language per site access, language switcher will be automatically displayed on the top. What else? For example, metadata of the site is also displayed. Page footer, for example. And now the most interesting part, the content directory. Basically, it contains all the templates for displaying the content. So for example, if you are displaying the full view of NG article, it would be this one. For example, this is a full view article. We have some pre-built conventions. For example, the full view is just when you're displaying the single content content item, for example, like ng article, it would be displayed in the full view mode. But we are also supporting, for example, like embed view. Then we also have something like gallery grid, gallery thumb, line, list item, mini. I have something from designers. Basically, this is how all the view types look like. For example, we have an ng article in the standard. We have standard view type. Basically, it just renders image, maybe some type of it. For example, tag. But basically, this is the title of the content, image, and maybe tag, for example. Then on the other hand, blog post has got title, maybe the time when it was published, ng news, banner. For example, then we have standard with intro. We have, again, convention. Standard with intro is basically the same as standard, but with some simple description below the title. On the other hand, we have overlay views. Overlay views are probably mostly used, for example, on the main views. Basically, I think something like probably something like this. So basically, something that needs to be a bit emphasized a bit more. Probably you would use this inside banners overlay view. Then, for example, for a simple list out, we have a line view, and this is how all these items look like. And the most rudimentary is the list view. Basically, just get the content title, and basically that's it. And also mini. Basically, everything is already prepared for you. Okay, then let's talk about, for example, for configuration. As you can see, everything for layouts is already contained in its own folder. So everything related to extending layouts, you will be doing this in this folder. So again, very easy. Then, for example, all those content view mappings are inside the content view file. Basically, here you can see full view is defined here, line views, list item, blah. Every single one is defined here. Easy platform config file, image variations that comes predefined with the site. Information collection. You'll see also this a bit later on. For example, legacy. With this, you control the legacy parameters, so you don't have to actually go into the legacy folder and to edit legacy files, the ini files. Basically, just add everything to YAML, and you have everything on a single place. Open graph configuration, routing. It's empty. We don't have any custom routings. Of course, we don't have any custom services, and some default templates that for example, that user register is using for this. Okay, let's talk about the site info. Basically, site info is basically the site-wide configuration object. We are using this to be editor friendly, so editor don't have to call developer every single time when he or she needs to add something new, or just want to change information basically that needs to be changed on a daily basis. For example, I'll show you an example here. So we have this configuration object for our media site, and as you can see, for example, it contains the site title, generic metadata options are here. Site name, for example, site logo. So if you have multiple sites, you have multiple site info objects with different site logos. So basically, you don't have to call developer, okay, I have to upload new logo. You can do it by yourself. RSS feed links. Menu generation is also in here. Then this is the footer block. You can put whatever you want here. And of course, for example, if you need to do some simple, you want to, for example, add, I don't know, some simple JavaScript code that will take care of ad generation, just put it inside JavaScript block. It will render without a problem. Then, for example, standard social stuff like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google, LinkedIn. Basically, this object gets quite a lot of modified on every project. Basically, the idea is to just extend it with with the fields that you need. For example, if you want to add the third menu, you will add this new relation list field and add the third menu. Basically, it's just something that editor can do on a day-to-day basis without the help of developer. Basically, you have everything is in editor's hands. And from the standpoint of developer, we provided this ngMore twig global variable. So, for example, if you are on ng article full view template, and you would like to, I want to render something from site info object, you have this helper, this function. You just call ngMore.siteinfoContent, then you will have site info content, and of course site info location. And this is, of course, site access aware. So you will always get the real site info object that is related to that site. You have to take care of this. So you have pretty much very nice way of interacting with this. Okay, now let's see something about the topics. So the idea is basically, from our experience, a lot of media sites are using this so-called flat content structure. So basically, they're putting all the content on the single container. For example, they have container articles, and they put every single article, blog post, news, whatever, under that content tree. And they have something like, for example, landing pages, a lot of landing pages. Something, for example, like this, fitness and healthy eating. And as you already saw, those nodes, they don't have any children. But when you access those nodes on the front end, you will see a lot of content. Basically, because the topics filter the content by tags. In this, for example, in this example, but you can set your own custom logic. Okay. Now let's go through menu building. Of course, menu building is done with the site info object. And for example, let's inspect this. The very basic menu can be done just by adding links to, for example, to fitness landing page, to whatever you want. You can just add here, and it will be rendered as a simple link on the front end. But of course, you want some complicated stuff here. So, for example, we have a simple link to recipes, for example. Recipes, simple link. It will redirect us to recipes page. It's a simple page that lists ng recipes items. But for example, let's for example, we want to add 5 recipes in a drop-down in the menu, for example. So we'll go into the menu items to follow the convention. Here, let's create a new menu item object. Let's call this recipes. And you can link directly to, for example, to the recipes object, but we don't want that. So we want this item to actually act as a parent node. So we are telling this, okay, we want everything from this node. We are adding recipes. We want to filter only content of type recipe. And for example, I want only 5 items. Okay, now we have menu item called recipes. And now of course, we have to add it to site info configuration. Okay, let's edit this. So we will remove the recipes category link and add our menu item content object from media library, menu items and recipes. Okay, and now as you can see, we have a fifth item called recipes that is of type menu item, and we should publish this. And now, with the help of luck, we should have fifth item called recipes that is containing a drop-down, and we have it. So basically, all the editors gain a lot of power. You don't have to call developers. Okay, I need drop-down here. Can you add it? Everything can be done basically from clicking the administration interface, something like this. And you can render. For example, we can add power-up smoothie as a menu item, and we can say, okay, for this menu item, render his children. So we can have the second level menu, third level, fourth, whatever. So it's pretty much configurable and pretty much very easy to do, and very much easy way to extend the current site. And of course, everything boils down to KNP menu library, because KNP, we are using KNP menu for menu generation. So if you need pretty much do a lot of customization, you want to check out the KNP menu documentation. Again, Symphony stuff. I believe the KNP menu is probably the most used library for generating menus in Symphony community. Okay, now we have this concept called related multimedia that was also a lot of used on media sites. For example, the idea is we have some simple content that, for example, is containing a single image, like this. For example, let's open one NG article. Effective training. And sometimes this is probably enough to have an article with a single image, but sometimes you want to add more images. For example, okay, this already has this. Let's check some other that doesn't have it. Running free. Okay, this one. So we have a single image, and if we open this article on the front end, it will render a single image like this. But for example, we want to add more pictures. Maybe we want to add galleries. And it's very easy to do, because the concept of related multimedia provides another field called just a sec. Sorry, this is a blog post. Blog post doesn't have it. Article. Okay, NG article, single image, that's it. So we have single image. We can also add images into the field called related multimedia items. And basically, you can add images, NG image content type. You can add gallery. Gallery will add all of the images that are in the gallery, basically. And you can add NG video, for example, if you have video from YouTube, from Vimeo. So, for example, let's add some example images here. let's do this related multimedia items. So I want to add images. For example, let's add these almonds and beautiful vegetables. I want to add those. Why not? And for example, to make the things a bit more interesting, let's add a video. Content structure, give me some video. Okay, brutal beginner. Okay, it is. And now we should have a slider here with 4 items, 3 images and a video. And we have it. Second image, third image, and basically we have a player. We can play videos. Of course, you can also add, for example, child items, images under this article, and those will be also added to this related multimedia concept. It will just fetch all children of type ng image, ng gallery, ng video, and add those to the slider. Basically, this is somehow this is a convention of related multimedia. And for example, we can check this ng video class. So this video class is not restricted to YouTube. You can actually use whatever you want. Basically, you can use video from YouTube, videos from Vimeo, Dailymotion, or you can upload your own. Basically, we are supporting quite a lot of video sources. Basically, it's up to you to decide. Okay, we also provide site search. Something like this. For example, let's search from Marquito. Okay, so this is pre-built search page. We provide this simple search controller that can be very easily configurable. So you can do quite a complex searches with the default controller, but for quite complicated stuff, you should make your own controller, basically. And also, the idea is that on the search page, you display the search view type. So basically, it's a special view type only used on the search page because, for example, you will probably want to display the relevancy. If you are using the new Solar search engine, you will provide the relevancy, the scoring, etc., etc. Sorry? No, it's a get. But it's easily configurable. You can set it to post, whatever. But I think it's better to use get because you can cache this easier than post. Yeah, yeah. Chrome is also doing, I believe, the same thing. Okay, that's one. Of course, every site has got error page, so I can quote one famous movie character called Dirty Harry. So error pages are like opinions. Everybody has one, right? Okay, so of course we provide error pages and we provide pre-built error templates. So you're covered in a way, but we provide very simple way of adding new ones. For example, if you go to templates, where? No, this is the way of escaping the @ sign because in configuration, @ sign has its own meaning. But if when you double @ you basically escape the @. So, for example, because this is this new convention that easy teams are work with this. So, for example, you're not saying that I want to display the template from Netgen bundle, demo bundle. And I'm just saying I want to display from easy design and errors directory.
And this depends on the configuration of the themes you set in the main easyplatform.yaml file. So basically, the idea is you have basically the base theme. For example, you have multiple sites, and you have a base theme, and for example, on one site you are using one kind of a template, and on the other side you will be using the other kind of template. And you will not hard code, okay, I want to use this, this, and this. For example, you will say, I want to use default error template, and then the easy will go into the theme configuration. It will check, okay, first theme is, for example, Acme. I will go into the Acme theme directory and check if this template does exist there. If not, okay, I will go to the second level. For example, here is the configuration, easy platform. For example, themes. Okay. For example, imagine we have something called new theme here. So if you want to render the error page, error template, it will check on this new directory theme. So for example, it will go into the themes, and you'll have a new directory called new, and it will searching for the theme for error template. And if it wasn't found there, it will just fall back to demo, and after demo it will go to the common.
So it will find by this parameter is design single line
template you want to render.
available, and if not, we'll try to pull back to the first versions.
Of course, just to show you, okay, inside demo we have this directory called errors. There are pre-built templates for 403, 404, 500 as the default. And for example, if you want to add your custom theme for example, error 400, just create a new template. File, for example, 400.html.twig, and basically that's it. You add your own markup here, and that's it. And you can also test all those templates on a special route in development. Yeah. Basically just /error code, because on development it's quite hard to actually to hit the error page, because you'll receive the Symphony exception page. Okay. So we also provide a user register. Basically, it supports the complete registration cycle. We provide basically the form, basically confirmation. For example, when you register on a site, submit your data, you'll receive confirmation email. After, you can click on the link, you can confirm that you're registered. Then after that, you can, for example, you can have a password reset. Quite a lot of functionality, basically. Show you this part here, for example. As you can see, there's a lot of templates for activating users, activation pending, activation done, forgot password, register. Quite a lot of stuff, for example, and also for emails. We have a different kind of emails for activating users, forgetting passwords, everything. Quite a lot of functionality is provided out of the box, and it's very easily extendable, because the whole user registration feature is using the events system. So it's like a Symphony, for example, of events. You can hook up on every single step when user registers, when user confirms registration, when user resets password. Basically, it's pretty much extendable. Okay, and also we provide some simple helpers that came with the site. For example, we can check out, mail helper. You just inject this mail helper into your own class that needs to do some custom logic. You have some simple send mail methods. Just pass the receiver's subject, custom mail template if you want. Basically, it's done every single thing for you. You don't have to write the boilerplate code for sending emails. Everything is ready for you. It's the same thing as, for example, with pod helper. If you want to generate pod helper, Then we also have this site info helper. This is the helper object for fetching the site info, content and location. It is already provided in a Twig global variable that we already saw, like ngmore.site info location and ngmore.site info content. Okay, then also we have some cool commands that are coming with the site. For example, this update publish date. For example, a lot of editors were requesting that they can manually edit the publish date of the content. For example, you have a new field called publish date, and editor can manually adjust some imaginable date when they want this article to look like published. You just add this command to cron job, and it will change all those publish date. Basically, it will update the easy metadata of basically easy publish date will be updated. So also the second one, for example, quite useful data command. Basically, if you are doing a lot of, you have, for example, production, you have staging, you have to move the database all around. It's easy to dump the stuff. Just run the single command and that's it. And third one we already mentioned in the beginning. This one is very helpful to jumpstart your project. And these two probably Symlink Legacy and Symlink project are probably will not be used so much because it's quite a lot related to legacy for linking legacy extensions, basically legacy code. So probably if you're using legacy, it will help you a lot. If not, just ignore it. Okay, and also, as I already mentioned, this site is quite bundled. So you have a lot of functionalities provided out of the box. And we didn't put all those stuff into media site. It would be quite logic to reuse the community bundles. Basically, all those bundles are provided from our GitHub page, except, for example, Sentry bundle or HTTP plug bundle, for example. Okay, the first one, the Netgen Remote Media Bundle. I don't have it installed on media site, but it can be very easily installed, for example. Just navigate to our GitHub page, you'll find it there. But the idea is that it provides a new field type, basically that supports remote research providers. Currently, only Cloudinary is provided, basically, so you put all your images, videos, documents, whatever you want, and all those documents, images will be uploaded to Cloudinary and consumed from Cloudinary. And also we are providing this cropping functionality. Basically, editor can basically crop and edit the image directly in easy administration. For example, we have some benefits. So the idea is if you put all your images, videos to the, for example, Cloudinary, then you'll have your storage folder will be quite a small. You will have a lot of problems with the images, and also images are statically served from CDN servers. So you will have a bit more responsive site rather than serving all those images directly from your site. And of course, one big benefit is if you have multiple environments, and you probably you have production, you have staging, you have a lot of developers, they have to sync the database, they have to sync all big storages, and it's quite problematic. But with this, you just link every single environment you have with Cloudinary, and that's it. Well, yeah, probably, but you have to be a bit careful. But probably you have some test accounts with the test images. Well, I didn't use this on the project, but our colleague Hervé is using this intensively, and they are using this remote media bundle on the side that's generating quite a lot of images. How much was traffic for
It was quite large before we started initially, but on this specific portal we were doing like 2 terabytes of traffic before Introducing cache layer.
Yeah.
And there is also one thing that I was working also on that project, and it's related to Netgen remote media, is the image variations. So you know the standard problem with when you have an easy publish object and it has an image, and maybe this image, the crop of the image, it's not usable on the smaller versions. For example, if it's I don't know, some landscape or whatever, you want to crop a certain part of image and then present it in a line view or in some kind of a teaser. The usual way to do it is to upload two images, so one crop for the big one and one for the small. What Cloudinary allows you is to actually use only one image, and then on the Cloudinary system, it's actually a feature from Cloudinary, you define different crops. So you have a close-up, you have a landscape version, you have a portrait version, and you just by using one image and having different variations, you can cover all of those use cases, and it's quite.
Yes, we can also implement the entire layer for the easy administration where
Yeah.
any administration
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a plugin where you can actually take the image and manually crop all the
Yeah, I have this
Yeah,
screenshot.
maybe screenshot, yeah. Because
Here's-
unfortunately, we didn't put it right now in
Here is
this
a screenshot,
installation.
for example, of adding media from the Cloudinary, from remote resource providers. This is, for example, what you can choose. You can scale down the image. Yeah, something like this.
so you can simply select it on your own and just crop the image.
Yes. And when you mentioned these image variations, for example, if you look at this media site in the demo mode, it's a bit slower because you'd have to regenerate all those image aliases with Image Magic. And when you put your images on the Cloudinary, it will do it for you. So there's no CPU resource time. It's devoted to the images just for basically for the rough tasks.
I would say that the biggest benefit is when you need to pull the site developments. Instead of pulling 20 plus gigabytes of storage for large media site,
Yeah.
database that the site then
Yeah, for example, if you have, imagine you have a project with 200 gigabytes of database and 200 gigabytes of storage of images. So you have to sync those between staging, developments. It's kind of job to do those. Okay, we also provide this Netgen Open Graph bundle. It's probably 3 or some years open on our GitHub page. Basically, it allows you to do a simple integration with Open Graph protocol, and it uses the content object, which is currently displayed to generate Open Graph meta tags according to the configuration. So, for example, it's very easy to tweak this. Of course, we also provide some pre-built configuration, but if you want to tweak this, you have to go to the config, of course, opengraph.yaml. And for example, if you look at the ng article, for OG type, we are using the just literal text of article, because this is the article. And for example, for title, we want to render field type of type easy string, called identified by title, so just render title field, or description from easy XML, or image from easy image. Basically, it's quite easy to tweak this configuration to your own needs, or to add new ones. For example, you have a new content type, just copy the configuration for ng article, call it with how your new content type is identified, and that's it. You're good to go. Okay, this one probably does not need introduction. It's probably the most community used bundle around. Do you use tags bundle? Probably everybody's using this. This is probably the bundle from the easy community. Of course, we are using of this Netgen information collection bundle. Basically, in Easy Publish 4, there was this feature called information collection, and the idea is to have the content type, and you just marked fields as information collectors, and it would render the fields in the form for you. It was quite an easy to get the forms in easy in the legacy stack. But when we got introduced to Easy 5, this was missing. And of course, all websites have some kind of forms there. So we missed a way for form generation. So we added this bundle. Basically, it also provides the standalone admin interface for checking the collected data, and of course, it is GDPR compliant. Why not? So let's have an example. I have a simple feedback form. Basically, we have this feedback content object. As you can see, it's a pretty much simple object with some fields marked as information collectors, and these fields will be shown on the form, for example. And we have the configuration for recipients, so every single thing that is submitted on this form will be sent to this mail address. For example, let's check this. Let's fill it up. Test message. And we want to submit this form. Okay, thank you very much. And now this is the icon for this new admin interface for information collection. Basically, it is a standalone Symphony application, so you can use without the ng admin UI. So, for example, now we have a feedback form that's got one information collected. So let's check those. It was created on this date by administrator user because I was logged in while submitting the form. Well, this new interface supports searching. Basically, in the legacy, the old one did not support searching, and also this one supports export. So you can export all the data that you've got collected. And of course, you can check the collected data, how it looks like. So for example, this page has some pretty neat functionality. For example, if you've got someone called you and said, okay, I've submitted this form and I have to be sure that my email address does not pop up in your database. I don't want this because this is the GDPR directive. So for example, you can do, for example, pretty much easy, select this field and you can say, okay, I want to anonymize this. And bam, we do not know this email anymore. This way of doing the doing anonymization is quite configurable. So you can develop your own plugins very easily. For example, if you want some other pattern of anonymization, you can pretty much add it very easy. I've added just simple 10x's just to cover up the field. Simple stuff. For example, we can also, for example, we do not want the subject. It's not relevant for us. I can delete the single field. And also I can anonymize the whole collection with this. So all of those will be gone and I can delete this. Okay. So basically you can manage all the collected information. So you have a power over the data. Editors can basically it's GDPR compliant. So. Okay, we integrated Sentry bundle. Does any one of you are using Sentry? Once. Well, the Sentry bundle just provides the integration for yeah. Yeah, basically the Sentry, I don't know if you know about it, Sentry.io is the central repository for collecting all the error logs from your applications. So no matter if you are using the iOS, Android, PHP, Ruby, whatever, it supports wide range of technologies. And again, we are using this Sentry quite extensively. The biggest thing is that it collects error logs into the single cloud instance, single admin interface, and the best thing is that it will send you an email. For example, if you have a critical error on your server, for example, something is crashing, and you can respond in the few minutes, basically, pretty much very easy. So we provided this integration out of the box. Bundle is already installed and enabled only in production mode, because there is no sense to send the error logs to Sentry in the dev, because there will be a lot of errors in development. So the idea is to go to app config, prod, config.yaml. Everything is ready there. Just add your Sentry DSN into the parameters.yaml file. Basically here you edit your Sentry and that's it. It would work without problem. The second bundle that needs mention is HTTP plug bundle. Does anybody uses HTTP plug? No? So you're still writing the curl commands, curl implementation in PHP. Basically, the HTTP plug is HTTP client abstraction, for example. You are just writing the upper level code. You're not writing the how actually request will be sent, how actually, for example, how request will be parsed. You just don't deal with this. You just write the higher level code, and also you do not depend on HTTP client implementation. Basically, if you have on one project you have installed a PHP curl extension, on the other hand, for example, on the other project you are using Guzzle, on third one you're using something third. Basically, your code always be the same. You don't have to adapt the code to HTTP client implementation. So that's a good thing. Basically, we have reusable code. And also, one good thing is the Symphony toolbar integration. Basically, I have it here. So it will track all of your HTTP requests and responses in the toolbar here, for example. I didn't have any HTTP plug requests, so it's empty. But it's very nice for debugging, for inspecting, for example. Very nice developer experience. Okay, also probably you also noticed this one. This is JavaScript cookie control that we developed. This is also published on GitHub. It's free to use. It's just a JS plugin for managing cookie pop-up. It is already published in NPM, so you can install it with Yarn, with NPM, whatever you like. But the idea is very simple. You add it to your site, for example. Okay.
This request came from the client. We have a Croatian telecom, and they said their lawyers thought about it. They went into the room and they returned with user pop-up. So in this use case, you can enter these long discussions what GDPR actually enforces, but this is a solution for this kind of stuff.
There's so much interpretations of GDPR that probably nobody knows how it should be properly implemented. So someone said, okay, you should just add notice into the footer. Someone says you have to do nuclear physics control, whatever, but no problem, nobody knows.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, this directive came into the power 3 months ago. Yeah, Do you know maybe someone that actually got, they needed to pay the fines? You know? No? Google. But they are paying a lot of fines for probably because they're just jealous of them. So we don't have any money. Let's find Google. Okay, they have a lot of money. Bam, $4 million. No problem. Okay. And finally, the most interesting stuff. It's our front-end stack. Basically, we are using the Bootstrap 4 templates. So if you check our site, it is completely responsive. It works on mobile phone, pretty much without the flaw. And what I mentioned on the first slide, on the beginning of this talk, we are using the Yarn for the dependency management. I don't know if NPM is better or not. I'm not the front-end dev. Again, this is something for discussion. Well, it's simple to install the dependencies. Just run yarn install, and we are using the Encore Webpack Encore as a module bundler. And basically, to build the assets for development, you run yarn build dev, or for production, you have to build with build prod. And while developing, you will probably use yarn watch or yarn server. So the idea is to run yarn watch. It will automatically watch on your SAS and JS files. And when you do a change, it will build every single JavaScript, all JavaScript files and all SAS files into single CSS and single JS file. So very easy. Production mode. For standard production servers, we are using Varnish, of course. Reverse proxy for caching, because we are doing content-heavy sites, so you just need to have some kind of caching layer. To move our app into the production mode is actually quite easy. You just have to run this simple command, Symphony F, Symphony environment equals prod, composer install, no dev, and optimize autoload. And it will automatically link production site htaccess. It will replace the development htaccess with production one. So quite easy. In one single command, you're good to go you're ready for production. And for the future, we are working on structured data. So in 2 or 3 months, probably we'll have this implemented. Also the Google AMP, it's the new buzzword. Everybody is using it. Also Facebook instant articles. This will be also published on this repository, so it will be free to use. And of course, currently this skeleton works as a media site, but this skeleton is not good base, for example, for other types of sites. So in the future, we plan to do something like a corporate site skeleton that's got a bit different structure inside, and of course the commerce site that's got easy platform integrated with Cilius pretty much tightly, so it works as a single site. So you don't have to do, for example, API calls to Cilius to get the products. Basically, everything is integrated on a single site. Basically, you already have this. I think it's open sourced already, right? This integration. So you can check it out. It is on our GitHub page. And I believe we came to an end. So do you have any questions about this?
We have, I think, kind of 5 minutes or something more left. So I would just end up with a couple of remarks. So as we said a couple of times, this is a work in progress. So by open sourcing it, we are hoping to get your contributions and also thoughts about the whole thing. So if you have, for example, an opinion, for example, GDPR opinion, everybody has that one. So if you have an opinion and you would think that it's better or supplemental to what we have done here, feel free to join in. The idea is to have kind of a community effort to have something which can be very, very quickly put into production. So this is one remark. The other remark is regarding the availability of it. So as I said already before, but I would like to say again, before, most of these components were open source even before. So you were able to get it, but now it's really, really simple because we have this media site which has a lot of its own features, but as Mario said, one of its bigger things is it gets you up and running like in 10 minutes. So you can install the whole thing with all the bundles in a very short amount of time, and then play with it. Before it was much more complicated to get all these bits and pieces together. So again, try it out and tell us your opinion. And the third thing is do come to the next 2 Netgen presentations. So the next one is in the afternoon. Mario will be also involved in that one, with Pero presenting Site API, which I think for the developers segment here is really going to be interesting. And the other one is Eddie on Friday, and he will be much better in explaining the technical aspects of Netgen layout. So please join us also on Friday.
So use, fork, and contribute whenever you want.
Yeah. Open source way.
Yeah. Community all the way. Yeah.
Okay. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.